You know, I want to make this a different title, but my character limit just forced me into just saying that they're demonic, even though they are vastly beyond the definition, at least in my opinion, what demonic would embody. Ladies and gentlemen, yet again, another video by me with some more bad news. Like, what's happening throughout, like, the world, specifically in America, because that's where it's concentrated, but like the names that are being implicated is worldwide. Like, we're talking about international scope. So running, like, going back in time, I think it was like 2016, 2020. I forget when Trump won the presidency. And, well, initially, right? And I remember Putin said something like very strange. He was like, "Oh, I was surprised that uh Trump actually won. I thought Hillary was going to be the president. Like, it was just like 100% sure." And like, I most likely thought that it had to do with the whole dossier and like the whole information war that was being fought against Trump, like on the run up to his presidency. And then subsequently, the dossier got like leaked, and even though it was very bogus, and it was like basically people being instructed to like implicate Trump to like Russia and this and that, and it's most likely the opposite of that, where you have the Democrats most likely funding the Russians, much the same way the European Union is. It's like they're getting Russian oil, so they're funding like the war on Ukraine while simultaneously arming Ukraine with like weapons and this and that, like, and they're making money off of this, off of both ventures, right? Like, they're buying the fuel off of Russia at a discount price, whereas like they're arming the Polish and subsequently Ukrainian and like all these other NATO countries to fight up and like arm against the Russian incursions and stuff. And it's it's Metal Gear Solid 4. It's the intro of Metal Gear Solid 4, where you have private military companies that do not answer to any country, that are fighting proxy wars all around the world. And even though the main players that are involved in these wars, are the main profiteers, the main players in the theater of war, like, they don't get their hands dirty because they have mercenaries, they have private armies, they have other countries, other religious movements, groups, this or that. And I love how everybody likes to cope about this. Everybody's like trying to like find their hard copes about this, and I think one of the biggest ones was, oh, at least there weren't any Muslims brought up in the Epstein files and stuff, right? So before I get into that, like, there was a lot of implications, not only on, well, obviously Jeffrey Epstein and like the shit that he was doing, torturing, scouting girls out in elementary schools, high schools, like some really like morbid stuff. I heard like some of the text files were talking about like murder, torturing of death, and like jam and pizza and all these euphemisms and this and that. But the thing that really sticks with me, and I think it's going to stick with like a lot of other people, is the news that came out that implicates a lot of Muslims, specifically Mamdani's mother, amongst various other like Qataris, and like I don't know if the IRGC's kids are in it, but I know that like most likely the Iranians are in it. Like, all these Middle Eastern countries are in it because they just like that underaged. Like, the useless people of this world have basically banded together to form their own supervillain club, and it's called the UN, the WHO, um, the European Union, like, amongst other groups. like these are, on the surface, they're like going to be, for the human race, for the country, this, that, right? But underneath the surface, they're facilitating, the wholesale trafficking of young underage women, to an island that like ultimately met their demise there. Like a lot of them, they just never made it out. And I think the ones that do, either one of two fates, right? One is like they're given a significant amount of money to keep their mouths shut about it. So like they have their family and like whatever out there. So it's like they speak out about this. Like that's it, they're finished. But that's about to change. Jay Z knows what's up. What the fuck? But the other one is like it's just the threat. They're too psychologically damaged, and like they can't make it back to society, so they have to like deal with it their own way. And when you read some of the things that are being said about what they would do to these young women, young children, basically, it's like I want to say that's beyond demonic, but like the title says, they are demonic. They are a demonic race of people. They are a group of people that likes to victimize and facilitate that victimization and traffic, that kind of content and stuff. And now going back to Lucaria, I know that's like such like harsh U-turn, but like I always wondered like where do these people get the material from? Where do they come from? Like what is their origin point? And with the answer being so close to home, basically so close to you, now it's becoming woefully apparent that like you have to basically have the same level of discretion that women do. Like I think women have over the years created a level of defense, like a layer of defense against this kind of thing where most likely to the outside, like to people without lacking context, it's like overly apprehensive and like prudish or whatever, right? But now you're getting to see that like, especially since like Jaguar, right, and all these other girls who came out and like were Nicki Minaj was talking about these rituals, yeah. So one of them was this. This was like a little bit hard to like when I heard it. It was just like whatever, right? But then it makes so much sense, right? So this person who was a victim, he was sexually assaulted from the age of 5 by his own family members and stuff, right? He also met Jeffrey at the age of 5 and then was sodomized by him, according to this testimony or whatever. And then he would witness going on this island or boat or whatever, like this kind of ritualistic, sex thing where they would get these very young blonde girls. Like he specified that, and they would get like these very like older black people to have sex with them and like force them to like basically bleed from their vagina, and like they're doing some kind of like dark ass sacrificial ritual. And like when you say this shit out loud, it makes you sound like a crazy person. Like what kind of sane human being would it like humor this kind of like behavior? Like who would get turned on by this? And now Jay-Z, really? Puff Daddy? Okay, okay. Think about how much power that is. Think about how much influence you have. Two of the biggest rap record producers, you know one of the biggest rap artists out there too, right, with Jay-Z. And now it becomes like something that kind of makes sense in hindsight. So we're always wondering, like, why would they go to such troubles, right? Like, the whole Kavanaugh, the whole Russian dossier against Trump, like, to such trouble, and then like overextend themselves to the point where you're obviously lying. Like after like enough details and information has been revealed, like you can't hold that illusion that you've held onto for so long. And now we're beginning to see why they keep doing this is because that's all they've known. That's all they've ever known. Like this isn't anything new for them. And the idea is that once they get back in power, every single thing that, has been released or that they think that they can get away with will be like, pushed aside and stuff because they have all the power. They have all these influential individuals. It's like you want to speak out against, a presidential candidate. You get Jay-Z and Beyonce, people who do the Super Bowl shows, who've done, several Super Bowl shows to say some good things about you or to come out and speak about your candidate, Kamala Harris, come out, pay Beyonce millions of dollars and come out to her, convention or speech or whatever. To hide, the amounts of treacherous villainy, like the amount of like absolute horror that all it takes, to be honest, is for the release of certain like aspects. So like we're talking about, video, we're talking about pictures, we're talking about even like other witnesses to come forward and to corroborate these stories, and then we're talking about like possibly a nationwide American, governmental shutdown of many institutions. So many people got implicated. We got Elon Musk. We got Bill Gates. We got who knows? We probably even got the new one who got implicated. The guys who made Grand Theft Auto, both of them. Leslie, the guy who broke off and made Mind's Eye, and then the other guy, Dan Hauser. I hope, honestly, I hope it's just bullshit because I want to play Grand Theft Auto a little bit. Like the fuck, man. They got named and like, that's it. Grand Theft Auto 6 is canceled. Oh fuck. What are you gonna do with all that work? And then it just like comes out later on in like this other pseudonym title. It's called Car Stealer 6. It's made by Popstar Entertainment. Everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, man. I just want my fucking Car Stealers 6. Oh man, remember Car Stealers 5? Yeah, that game was like forever, man. Like fucking 10 plus years. Oh, I know I shouldn't be laughing at it, but it's like I find that funny that like of all people, like these guys who, you know what I mean? Like they make video games, and you could argue like they're the most successful at it. But I always thought of them as like some real ass gangsters and shit. And they're just like, they make video games on their spare time. People who play Grand Theft Auto know what I'm talking about. Trevor is based off a real character. They probably all know him in The Office. It's Travis. It's Travis, man. Yeah, hey, don't be using my name, man. Rename him for the game. Oh, Trevor. The actor who plays him, it was like he knows the guy and he hates him. But all those like, all the things that we learned about in the beginning were like, kind of like priming us, prepping us for like learning about this, the inevitability that we are the adults in the room. We've always been the adults in the room. We've possessed more, education and knowledge than the generations that preceded us by a huge margin. And we were always downplayed because I noticed this ever since the end of my high school curriculum, whatever. And this was way before, like, the internet was a credible source for getting, information, right? So you'd like, want to find out about like a math formula or like, just anything, like some science, physics formula, some like problem that you could just solve online. And like the teachers were so adamantly against it, and yet now it's like you can't like leave that out of the classroom at all. Like you can't say that okay, you're not going to have a cell phone, even though they're trying to like push these laws. Like these kids, especially nowadays, these generations of kids growing up, fully invested into it. They probably had this shit, you know, if not by the age of like, you know, 10, going through puberty, all at least from like single digit ages. Like you just had a tablet, a cell phone in their hands and stuff. Like, can you imagine the whiplash? Like, you know, you have like people in the dark back in the day. They'd be like, "Oh, did you hear?" Right? And now you just look it up. It's just like, "Oh, did you look up this? Did you look up that? Did you Google this? Did you see that post about that?" Right? And they're beyond demonic, dude. Like the fact that they want to exclusively prey on like children just for the sake of preying on children. It's like the whole making them bleed, the whole loss of innocence type thing. And this isn't my words. This is what's being released. Like I actually don't like saying this shit. Like this is kind of messed up. Like well, it is messed up. It's 100% messed up. Like we're living in a world where you know like people will clown you know two gay guys kissing or two you know lesbians kissing or like you know something along those lines and say okay that's not a healthy or whatever relationship, right? And we got to like you know accept the fact that like you know some guys you know they kind of need help, and sometimes some guys like they're just too much for girls or whatever. And maybe you know in a perfect world everyone will be like you know right for each other and shit. I don't know because we're kind of in the same boat with all these people, even though like technically speaking, like they don't like us, we don't like them. Like historically speaking, we always had that like cultural bias against each other. But the reason why we're like thrust towards it one another is because I think the universal equalizer for every single human being on the planet right now is how much money do you possess and what was your involvement with the upper class, right? Because if one or both is true, like you're getting influenced by the upper class, or you have like you know a significant amount of money, right? Like, well, where'd you get that money from, right? What did you do, right? Like some people are like straight up honest about it, but you know now that we know that like a scale of operation this size exists, like I wouldn't be surprised that people were paid off to keep quiet about it, and how many people were paid off to keep quiet about it. And then, like, imagine those people voting in elections, those people voicing air quotes concern. It's demonic, dude. It's demonic. Like it's rules for thee, not for me. And I think like Hassan probably embodies this like almost to a letter, like the perfection of it, right? Where you know he's criticizing one side of a conflict while rampantly ignoring the other side of it, which is like it's more than just disingenuous. It's like very much a symptom of their ploy, their tactics, like the way he maneuvers around words and like makes more and more outlandish claims, where it's almost like he's just playing a game with himself, if not with his like you know lower end audience of people who just consistently fall for his tricks. It's just you know he's not going to learn. You know he's not going to change, and yet he's just going to say, "Oh, I am uh, the guy who defend." He said this actually. I am the most pro-Semitic person. I am very much against anti-Semitism. I'm pro-Jewish. Hassan, he actually said that. And like, yo, if you take him for his words literally, you're just you know he's giggling about it, he's laughing about it, he's stroking his little dick about it, you know. He's combing, you know, his Just for Men into his hair about it. He's just like, I'm one of the kids. I'm one of the kids. And speaking of one of the kids, right? I want to bring this up before, you know, whatever, the video ends, as like, you know, a very much a symptom of this whole thing. And I know I spoke about this at length, but the whole like cue card response, the whole curated teleprompter esque response of Andrew Tate after he lost the fight, right? He has a press conference, you know, he has all those like bruises, all that shit. He's like, I'm 40 years old, 8 years out, da 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 da. It was in a Romanian jail, blah 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 blah. And then like the second time he did it, and you think he was like on a podcast or something, and then that look that his brother gave, that just stuck with me because again, like it's so funny that like even now after he's still being interviewed, he's bringing up the fact that he's 40 years old, even though he's not. Like he's just 39. Like you know, you could just say that instead of just rounding up to make yourself look more older and henceforth sympathetic. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think like 39 has that like edge to it. It's like, yeah, I'm almost there, but I'm still like, you know, I'm still like, you know, in that like, you know, juvenile man era, like before my elderly age type shit. I just skipped over it because it's like, you know, like the things that they want to do to girls, the things that they tell to other people but they're not telling, you know, the way that they are and the fact that they all got exposed, it's just like you don't even have to be in the Epstein list to be fucking done. The whole fucking movement is getting splattered. All right, take it easy.